They just want to die. So you always see anime series where they always talk about the power of friendship, or how they want to become the Wizard King, or how they want to kill the Demon Lord. But what if I tell you there's one show that's so completely off the hook that the goal of the two characters will give YouTube the ability to completely demonetize this video? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Undead Unluck. This is how it went from being meh to whoa. Welcome to Anime Donut. If you like an explosion of flavor in your mouth, be sure to like and subscribe. We give you top tier anime and manga content, so make sure you aren't left out. So, why do some people even call it mid in the first place? Well, the thing about Undead Unluck is that you'll definitely be caught off guard in the first episode. And you might think to yourself, this is something pretty unique. And then you'll slowly get the feeling that this might just be another typical shonen anime. But if you give it a chance, then you'll see it's so much more than that. Patience, my young weeb. Patience. Because when you stick around till the end, there will be a surprise waiting for you. You see, Undead Unluck follows the story of two very weird and bizarre main characters. The first one is Fuko Izumo, who has a power called Unluck, where anyone she touches except herself basically will have the luck of a 200-year-old man who was diagnosed with cancer, has no life support, and failed a Mr. Beast challenge on the last round, losing $100 million. Basically, their luck becomes negative. This power is so strong that it can kill anyone instantly, which was the fate of her parents. This is why she just wants to die after she finishes her favorite manga. I mean, we know how that feels. So if you're a true weeb like her, smash that like button and subscribe. But just before she could unalive herself, that's when she met this dude that looked like he came straight out of Fire Force's womb after My Hero Academia impregnated it. Weird, I know. But that's the only way you can describe him. Just like Fuko, this guy named Andy has the power called Undead, where he's basically immortal even if you dice him up like Mewtwo did to Gyoko's head. Another thing about Andy is that he actually wants to die. So what happens when you mix two people that want to leave the world and super strange powers? Well, you get Undead Unluck. However, the show doesn't end there, because there's actually a third party that wants to take advantage of their powers, so that definitely spices things up. Still, even with all these crazy things going on, it's not getting the attention it deserves, and that's because it didn't have a huge fan base compared to the other anime this season. Anime like Frieren, Beyond Journey's End broke the internet because of its great storytelling, and Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 is just, well, Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. And it's made Undead Unluck sort of a second grade series at this point. Apart from not having a huge fan base, if you haven't watched it before, the only thing you think it does great is the concept. I mean, it's not bad or anything, it was just released along with Giants, and that's why it didn't get the hype it deserves. However, if you actually stick with it and just grind past the questionable beginnings, you'll actually notice that Undead Unluck is more than it seems. You see, other than Fuko and Andy, there are other individuals, called Negators, which pushes the narrative even further into the more mysterious side of things. This was revealed in episode 1, when the organization attacked Andy. Not only did episode 1 give some leeway for more character introductions, but the way they showed Andy and Fuko using their powers was creative as heck. I mean, how often do you see a guy use the bone in his leg to ride the side of a building? The author must have been totally high at this point, because there ain't no way any normal being would think of that. But you might be wondering, with an episode 1 as strong as this, why didn't it get more hype? Again, there's the fanbase part, and honestly, even if it did have all those explosions and action, I personally didn't feel like there was something more interesting waiting for me in the later parts of the show. And you might ask again,
Anime Donut Senpai, why is the fanbase so small?
That's because there's a big difference when it comes to manga and anime. In anime, even if the concept is so overused like isekai shows, but if the animation looks cool, then it's all okay. However, when it comes to the manga, the thing that carries it is the art and the storytelling most of the time. Now, to be honest, Undead Unluck's manga art style isn't that amazing compared to some of the others, and the character designs aren't quite as eye-catching either. Sure, there was a meteor, but after chapter 1 and episode 1, it kind of falls off quite a bit. So this is the part of the video where I start getting into spoilers. So if you want to be free of spoilers, go ahead and go watch this. Before you do, maybe like and subscribe before you head off. But we're fixing to jump into the deep end. Anyway, sure, there were some chapters where we finally got to see the other negators that have some even more interesting powers, like Unrepair, where any wound inflicted cannot be healed. Unseen, which is basically invisibility if the user can't see themselves, and Untruth, which makes you do the opposite of what you intended. There are around 20 or so negators, and most of them are pretty unique, except for Unseen, which is stupid. It's the type of superpower you'd make if you were drunk at 2 a.m. with the boys. But even with that kind of world building, there's just something missing. While you're reading it, you don't actually realize what it is, but it's actually that the series just kind of relies on using the negators to keep the show interesting. There's not really an underlying goal within it. By underlying goal, I mean something that will make each of these arcs fit together a little bit more perfectly, as if Undead Unluck is actually one solid entity. Think of Freerin, for example. Every action she does and every trouble they get into is actually linked to her history with Himmel and the rest of her party. Every character also has some connection with her, and that's why people stick to it. They'll be like, dang, that old lady was actually the kid whose village they saved. Or, she actually fought that demon before.
Who do they encounter next?
And, which part of her backstory do they come from? Sort of like that. Another anime that does that too is, surprisingly, Naruto. It didn't actually have that strong of a start, but once things were revealed, like the Akatsuki, Obito's identity, Itachi's backstory, everything felt cohesive enough that people now want to know, how the heck does it end? Undead Unluck may have somewhat failed to do it in the first few chapters, but once you give it some time, woo-wee, that author seemingly just makes it into a masterpiece. Before, it was like he was just focusing on what things we can add that would make this arc more interesting than the one before it. But, sadly, it takes more than 100 chapters for him to do that. This is when we find out that the Union was sort of like Itachi. They just looked evil, but they were secretly trying to save the world just on a whole nother level. In the Ragnarok arc, Undead Unluck went from being ghetto My Hero Academia to Record of Ragnarok mixed with RE0. Why those two anime? Well, because the world they were living in was actually in a loop where the Union used the arc to start over again and stop the world from being destroyed. Now that's interesting. You see, if they just revealed that the Union are good guys, but they didn't disclose why they're doing what they're doing back in chapter 50 or something, people would have stuck with the series. Even just by giving subtle hints, it would have done some good. Another twist that they revealed is that only one person can go back in time with their memories intact. And for the 101st loop, they chose our girl, Fuko. Meaning, other than dying in the best way possible, she now has an even greater purpose. This is so important for her character development and the overall world building because the stakes became so much higher. There was even a fight where they actually duked it out against God, just so Fuko would be able to escape via the arc. This gives us a glimpse at how big the final fight will be as, one by one, all the negators with overpowered abilities are obliterated by this behemoth of a boss. This is how Undead Unluck became a masterpiece. Just through this one battle, every reader's eyes are stuck on the manga and are eagerly waiting for what happens next. I mean, I'm no genius manga author or anything, but this kind of storytelling is much more compelling and pushed this series into the pedestal of the greatest shonen series of all time. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything more than that. Everything else is up to you. Hey there, glad to see you got this far. You see, this time we will be giving you viewers a chance to decide which videos we'll be making next. Leave your ideas in the comment section below, and if Anime Donut Senpai likes it, well, we might just make a video out of it. So what are you waiting for? Show us how creative you weebs can be. And that's gonna be it for our video of how Undead Unluck went from mid to masterpiece. Let us know in the comments what do you think about the series now, and if you like what you're seeing, smash that like button, subscribe, and click that notification bell for more videos like this one. Any feedback from the comments is always welcome. But before you go, have you ever wondered how many One Piece references there are in other anime? Click on this video and find out. That's it for this one, guys. Anime Donut rolling out.